Hey guys, well, one question that I've been getting from a number of our viewers on YouTube and also on Facebook is what do we do when we have a car that is fuel injected? There's a lot of wiring, a lot of computers. People freak out when they see it and also mess stuff up, unfortunately, for lack of a better way to say it. They start cutting wires, their car doesn't start, and then they're troubleshooting. And I've even had some guys that said, well, I just ended up scrapping the car because it wasn't worth my trouble. Well, hold on. I'm making a video. Hopefully it'll be short and sweet and maybe give you a little bit more hope that, this isn't that bad. Even the most novice person should be able to figure out how to do this. It's all about the degree of clean you want to be with this wiring job. If you want it bare bones simple, I'll tell you that real quick, and then from there we'll kind of start getting into this a little bit more about what you should cut, what you shouldn't cut, what we do to ensure that we don't cut something important, and then go from there. So the first step is going to be careful when you start taking your car apart and stripping. Don't just start cutting wires. Have a little bit of self-control here, and what I highly suggest you do is start off by just unplugging stuff. Don't just start cutting. These plugs are nice and convenient. They're plastic, they're capped, so if you do end up with a live wire at some point, it's not going to short out as easily as if you just were to snip this wire. Look, another plug. Lots and lots of plugs. So what I want to suggest to you is, like when you're doing headlights, taillights, in this case we had electric seats and windows and everything in this Cadillac. So what I want to suggest is start going and just unplugging as much as you can. Try to leave the wiring attached as much as you can. So like these the wires that ran into the door, I unplugged it all from the door and then just pulled it all out through that hole and put it all in the inside of the car. Again, same thing with this door. There's a big bundle of wires that used to flow right through here to the back seat and then continued on into the trunk, which gave all the wires for the taillights, the trunk opener, the electric antenna, all that good stuff. We left it all attached as one bundle, pulled it all out, pulled it up, and then tucked it all up in here into the dash area. Now, the pile of wires you're looking at right now is actually already a condensed version of what was here. We already started cutting wires that we knew were safe to cut. So what is safe to cut? Well, safe to cut are wires that we're not going to need because they went to like the tail lights, the electric accessories, certain things that are only operated by a switch and will not interfere with how the car runs. So what you need is ignition, you need something to create spark, and also to turn the motor over. Those are the things you need, as well as obviously electric fans and fuel pump. But we'll get to that in a second. As far as just trying to condense your wires, what I suggest is start pulling your fuses to the accessories that you know you don't need. And something that you might want to just try is pull a couple fuses if you're not sure what they do or they're not labeled. Try starting the car up, and if it starts up, fires, and then shuts off, you're good. You haven't cut something that's important. So that being said, what we'll start to do is we'll condense the wires from everything we know that can get cut. And then when we're cutting wires we don't know what they do, we'll cut 2 at a time. And yes, that is, out of all these wires in a bundle, we'll cut 2 at a time, turn the car over. If it starts up and runs and then shuts off, then you're good. Now, if it doesn't start, if it just turns over, or if it doesn't turn over, then you need to connect those wires back up. Maybe try connecting one up and trying it again, or connect the other one up. Obviously one of them or both of them are important. So reconnect them back up, and then okay, I need to leave this wire attached. Start working your way through this big bundle, and I guarantee you will condense most of those wires down. You're not going to need most of those. And then from there, once you have them all condensed down to the ones that are required to make this thing run, then what we'll do is we'll take this big bundle of wires tuck it all up against the firewall using zip ties and some other restraints, and we'll just leave it attached. We'll tuck it up, cover it up with like a garbage bag to keep the moisture and water out of there. It just is all condensed to one place. You got it all inside your car, which is the other tip. Basically, as you strip your car out, continually start pulling the wires and tucking them and rearranging them, rerunning them, so that way they come in through the firewall. We've had it with a Toyota Camry we ran, fuel injected, front wheel drive. We actually had to take the front driver's side fender off because the wire bundle going to the battery ran right through the fender. So you may have to do that. You may have to pull the fender off just to be able to reroute the wires back up into the inside of the car. So like here, we had this connection point that went through the firewall, and then this bundle came out and went right to the battery. Now it has a few relays in there, so those are going to be important. But a lot of this was just like the headlight bezel, a horn, stuff like that. Just these plugs. We're not going to need them again. And if you think they may be important, well then in this case, like, we will label them. This one is connection point 1, so we made it 1. There's other times when I had a ground wire, so I labeled it ground. Or to something else, master cylinder. This one we're going to reattach. We pulled it through the firewall, and then we're going to rerun it back through the firewall, so that way all you're doing is having wires that are important running into your engine bay, and everything else is then tucked into your car. Obviously the battery will be relocated up by the firewall, and again, a lot of this wiring is going to be eventually snipped and cut out. But again, before you start cutting and being really meticulous about all these wires, start out at your fuse box, pull the ones that you know you can pull, and then from there trim your wires right at the fuse box, and then get rid of them the rest of the way. If you know you don't need them here, then there's no reason to start being really careful and cutting in this bundle if you could have just eliminated them at the fuse box in the first place. So let me just show you the engine area again. This is a little different because it's a front wheel drive Cadillac, and obviously the rear wheel drives are going to be a little bit different. But right here is where the connection point to the fuse box was. We unbolted that, pulled it through, and there was a bundle of wires that came up right to where the battery used to sit right here, as well as then they went around and up to the headlight, and there was this one had airbags, so there's an airbag impact sensor up there. So if you unplug it, you're good to go. As well as we also unbolted that out of the steering wheel, so make sure you do that too. In this case too, I did have to cut a couple wires because these are to the electric fans. Again, I like to label my stuff just so that way I'm like fan, okay? So that way I know where this wire goes. So that's going to be the wiring for the electric fan. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to run, there's 2 fans and there's 2 sets of wires, a positive and a negative to each fan. So what we're going to do is just going to run new wires to a switch mounted on the dash, and then we have electric fans running whenever we flip the switch. Again, a nice little simple trick. So get rid of your stock wiring for that, especially for electric fans, because you're going to be running hotter than usual because you're not moving at highway speeds, so you're not going to have as much air over cooling, and you're going to want your fans running the whole time you're out there. At least that's what I would recommend. Some of you guys would argue against that, but that's what we like to do, is have the electric fans running at all times, as long as the engine's running, and it helps run it cooler. Keep it cooler. You have air over all the time, and by having a simple switch, it keeps it from shorting out, and you're not depending upon factory wiring as much. But then again, what we also did was, there used to be wiring that ran across here, and now we took that through the firewall. Try to condense as much as we can, and then this wiring used to come through the firewall here. It had a big plug, so what I did was unplugged it, pulled it out of the existing hole, and reran it through the big hole. What I'm eventually going to do is I'm going to put some sheet metal across the hole just to kind of cap off where the motor is, keep me a little safer, as well as just keep all the wiring in a better location where it's not going to be rubbing against the firewall. So it's really not as daunting of a task as you think. It's just a matter of take your time when you're stripping the car, have a little bit of diligence, condense it all. What I mean by that is, again, just unplug everything as much as you can, try not to cut wires right away, get it all into the inside of the car, and then start looking at what you have. Once it's all here up by the firewall, you'll quickly see, well, okay, this string of wires, that all went to the tail lights, so I can cut that off. This string went to the headlights, these connection points went to electric windows. Okay, I can cut those. So then you start cutting those wires. Work at the fuse box, pull your fuses to any accessory lines that you think you don't need. Try starting the car. Again, then you'll know real quick if it was important. And then when you want to start condensing this big log of wires, if you still have a big bundle of wires and you think, okay, there's got to be something there I can get rid of. You know, if you don't want to mess with it, then great. Just tape it up against the firewall here, cover it with a bag, and you're good to go. But if you want to be like me and take a little bit of extra time, try to condense it down even more just to get rid of all these extra things that could be drawing power out of my battery that I'm not even using. Then cut maybe 1 or 2 wires at most. Again, I try to do about 2. Start the car. If it starts up, runs good, that is important. It has to run good, because obviously if you get a misfire, then that wire was important. It's just a little thing. Yes, it started, but it's not running as good as it used to. Then obviously something changed. So reconnect those wires and keep them. As long as it doesn't appear to have changed your running of the motor or its ability to start up and shut off. I had it also where we cut a wire and the motor wouldn't shut off. So, you know, you never really know what you're going to have. But just take your time with it. Try to get it all located into the car before you start cutting away at it, and you should be good to go. So that's a quick overview. Hopefully if you have any specific questions, feel free to shoot me an email or message or comment below this video, and I'll do my best to help you out. But you know, it's not as daunting as you may think. You just get it all located inside the car, you can tape it up, and it'll run just fine. We've done this on a number of cars, and that's you can be as bare bones, or I'll leave it just as a big old bundle of wires like this, cover with a garbage bag, and be good to go. I mean, I've seen that too. We've done it before. It works. You know, as long as your car continues to run, you're good to go. So hopefully this helps you guys out a little bit, and again, if you have any questions, just comment below. So until the next video, I'll talk to you later, guys.